Hey everyone, COE33 here with another game room tour for you. Today we're going to take a look at one of my favorite collections, which is our Resident Evil collection. There's our custom Resident Evil storage locker that Leaf and I built to house our collection, and definitely one of our favorite franchises to collect for and play. I played the first one when it came out on the original PlayStation. I fell in love with it right then and there, and I've played them all except for a couple of the offshoot games. I haven't played Survivor yet on the PlayStation 1. And I think there might be one or two more that I've missed. But as far as all the main games in the series, I've played them all. I've enjoyed almost all of them. I wasn't a big fan of 6, but for the most part, definitely love the franchise. I love collecting for Resident Evil. I love playing Resident Evil. And I look forward to sharing this with you. So why don't we get right into it and see what's inside of our custom Resident Evil storage locker. All right, why don't we open this up and check out the collection. Starting up top, we have our custom Resident Evil PlayStation 1 with the Umbrella logo on top. It's another DIY project that Leaf and I did, and just kind of a fun, cool item to have in the collection. Next to that is a controller. Now, that's not actually a Resident Evil controller, but it sure looks like one, and we thought it just seemed like it was at home in our little storage locker and with the Resident Evil items, so that's where it lives. As far as the games, we have on the left there behind the controller, you can kind of see it, is probably my favorite out of all the Resident Evils, which is Resident Evil 2. Love that game. I picked it up when it first came out, and definitely one of my all-time favorites, and it still holds up today in my opinion, even though the controls are a little off-putting for a lot of people, but I quite enjoy it. Next to that is Resident Evil Director's Cut. That's the first game, and yeah, I love it. I picked it up at Target when it first came out, and I was blown away by it, and I've been a big fan of survival horror ever since. Next to that is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. That's a lot of fun. I really enjoy that game. And I think all the PlayStation 1 era Resident Evils were really on point and a lot of fun to play. Although I have not played Resident Evil Survivor, which is next to Nemesis there on the far right, and I look forward to popping that in the PlayStation one of these days and checking it out and seeing what that's all about. Moving down to the second shelf, we have, starting from the left on the PlayStation 2, is Resident Evil 4. Great game, definitely one of my favorite in the series. And also for the PlayStation 2, we have Resident Evil Outbreak, and then Resident Evil Code Veronica X. Now, I have not played that version, although I have played Code Veronica on the Dreamcast, and we have that upstairs with our Dreamcast collection. And I had a lot of fun playing through that. It's one of my favorite Dreamcast games, and I remember playing that over and over and really enjoying it when it came out. Next to that, for the GameCube, is Resident Evil. That's that remake. Those GameCube era Resident Evil games are really cool. That was kind of unusual for Nintendo to release such a mature game and do such a good job remaking the Resident Evil games and releasing a bunch of Resident Evil games, including Resident Evil 4, which is next to that. You can kind of see it there. And then for the PlayStation 3, we have Resident Evil 5 Gold Edition. I thought that was pretty decent. That's not my favorite of the Resident Evil games, definitely more action-orientated. I kind of like a more traditional survival horror style Resident Evil game than, say, 5 or 6. But that said, I did enjoy it, and I played all the way through it. And then on the far right, you can kind of see it there, is for the PlayStation 3, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Moving down to the bottom shelf, we have some of the movies, including Resident Evil and Resident Evil Apocalypse on DVD. And then we have some of the UMD PSP movies, which is kind of a fun oddity to have in the collection. And for that format, we have Resident Evil Extinction, Resident Evil Apocalypse, and then the original Resident Evil. Next to that for the Wii, we have Resident Evil Archives, Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles, Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition, which is one of my favorites in the series. I really enjoy that game. And then Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles. Next to that for the Xbox 360 is probably my least favorite in the entire Resident Evil series, and that's Resident Evil 6. And next to that for the Xbox One, we have Resident Evil The Origins Collection, which is pretty cool. And we have for the 3DS Resident Evil Revelations. And that is our Resident Evil collection, guys. Now, we also have some custom theming elements. On the door here, we have a badge that I printed out, and that's Dr. James Marcus. He was a research director for Umbrella. And just kind of a little added touch to our little storage locker here to give it some theming, a little custom element. Up top here right now, we have a Game of Thrones statue, but I would love to put the Resident Evil chainsaw controller up here. So eventually I want to add that to the top of our storage locker here. But that's our collection, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye.